All right, when you think of ancient Egypt, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Pyramids, right? The Great Pyramids, of course. But what if I told you there was another kind of monument? Something just as huge, but built for something else entirely. Not for a pharaoh's afterlife, but for the single most powerful force in their world, the sun itself. I mean, think about it. This question really makes you rethink the whole civilization. Pyramids, they were the ultimate status symbol, right? Eternal homes for kings, built to last forever. So what on earth could possibly be more important than that? Important enough to build something that could rival a pharaoh's own tomb? Well, the answer is a temple. A temple for the creator of everything, the sun god, Ra. And look, this wasn't just any old temple. No way. This was a statement piece, a massive, colossal declaration of devotion. It was a place where the king could literally connect with and honor his divine father. So, to really get why they did this, we've got to rewind to a very specific moment in Egyptian history. We're talking about the 5th dynasty. This was a time when the worship of Ra just exploded. It hit its absolute peak, and for the pharaohs, it became like a divine mission.
Okay, let's zoom in. We're talking around 2440 BCE, right in the middle of King Niuserre's reign. See, for these pharaohs, their connection to Ra, it wasn't just religious, it was deeply personal. There was this powerful myth going around that the first kings of their dynasty were the actual children of Ra. So what do? You build these incredible sun temples on top of building your own pyramids. It was their way of showing that their devotion to their divine dad was just as important as their own shot at immortality.
And the way they designed this place, it's just fascinating. It's not just one building, it's this huge 3-part complex. The whole thing was designed to take you on a journey, a symbolic trip from the everyday, earthly world all the way up to the divine. Yeah, you can almost think of it like a procession, just frozen in stone. You'd start at the Valley Temple, down by the water, then you'd climb up through this long, covered causeway, and then finally you'd arrive at the main event, the sacred Upper Temple, where all the important rituals went down. And how they built it was pretty genius, too. The inside, the core, was basically a network of mud brick walls filled up with rubble to make it super strong. But then they covered the entire thing in this beautiful polished yellow limestone. Can you imagine? It was literally designed to gleam and shine under that hot desert sun. Okay, so let's do it. Let's take that journey ourselves. Imagine we're starting right where an ancient visitor would have, down by the green, fertile banks of the Nile, and we're about to make our way up to that sacred terrace, where the main temple is waiting for us. So our first stop is the Valley Temple. Now today, it's in pretty rough shape, mostly ruins, and a lot of it is underwater. But we know that back in the day, its entrance was this majestic portico held up by 4 massive pillars. This was it. This was the front door, the gateway between the world of the living and the world of the god. Once you passed through that gateway, you'd enter this long, steep, covered causeway. And this was so much more than just a hallway. It was this amazing transitional space. The walls were covered in these incredible, super detailed reliefs. You can just feel the anticipation building as you climb higher and higher, getting closer to the sacred area. And you've got to think about where this thing is located. The site is called Abu Ghurab, and it's just a few kilometers north of Saqqara. You know, the famous necropolis, the city of the dead. So you literally have the pyramids, these tombs for the king's eternity, standing right next door to these gigantic temples for their divine father, Ra. It's an incredible setup. Okay, so after that climb up the causeway, you'd finally make it. You step out of the covered walkway and into the bright sunlight, and there you are. You're standing in the very heart of the Sun Temple, the sacred courtyard. This was the whole point of the complex, right here. A massive open-air courtyard, and they deliberately designed it with no roof. Why? So the priests could perform all their rituals directly under the sun, literally under the watchful eye of Ra himself. It's all about connecting the ceremony on earth with the god up in the sky. And check out the altar. It's an absolute masterpiece of symbolism. It's made from 5 huge slabs of Egyptian alabaster. The middle part, the circle, well, that's the sun. And the 4 pieces around it, they actually form the hieroglyphic sign for offering. It's not just an altar. It's literally an offering to the sun, carved in stone. How cool is that? But as cool as the altar is, it wasn't even the main attraction, not by a long shot. Dominating the entire courtyard was something huge. A structure that soared to a staggering height, 56 meters. That's almost 185 feet tall. So what was it? That massive height was the temple's main feature, a colossal limestone obelisk sitting on top of this huge pyramid-shaped pedestal made of granite. This was the focal point of everything, the center of all worship. It was like a man-made sunbeam, just reaching for the sky. And get this is the most mind-blowing part of the whole story. That 56-meter obelisk, the one built to honor Ra, it was actually taller than King Niuserre's own pyramid, taller than his eternal tomb. I mean, what an incredible statement that is. It just tells you everything you need to know about how much power and devotion the 5th dynasty poured into worshiping the sun god. But okay, the temple isn't just about its massive size. The little bits and pieces that have survived, they hold secrets. Secrets about the king, about the rituals they performed here, and some of them are still total puzzles for archaeologists today. The reliefs that we do have are super revealing. For example, we see scenes from the king's Hebsed festival. Think of it like a massive royal jubilee, a party to celebrate being on the throne for 30 years. So boom, right away that tells us Niuserre had a really long reign. And other carvings show the 3 seasons of the Egyptian year, the flood, the sowing, and the harvest, which perfectly connects the sun god's power to the cycle of life along the Nile. But, not everything is that straightforward. And that brings us to one of the temple's biggest mysteries. Scattered around the courtyard, archaeologists found 9 of these large, round alabaster basins. And for years, they've been scratching their heads, trying to figure out what were these things for. Okay, so the debate really boils down to 2 main ideas. Theory 1, they were used to collect blood from animal sacrifices. A bit grim, right? But the evidence is kind of weak. Archaeologists didn't find any flint knives or anything you'd expect to see with a sacrifice. Then there's theory 2, which seems to fit the whole offering vibe of the altar a lot better. This theory suggests they were purely symbolic or maybe decorative. Perhaps they held water for rituals, for purification. It's still up for debate. When you step back and look at it, the Sun Temple of Niuserre was a true wonder of the ancient world, no question. It went toe-to-toe with the pyramids in both its size and its importance, but for centuries, it was basically forgotten, overshadowed by its more famous neighbors. And that really makes you wonder, doesn't it? If a monument this huge, this important, was just sitting there waiting to be rediscovered, what other amazing secrets are still buried out there, hidden under the sands of Egypt?